All right, coming to you late night again, and we're coming to you from the bunker. So I want to talk to you a minute about buying a firearm, and if you should or if you shouldn't, and buying extra accessories for that firearm. You know, it's a lot of gee whiz stuff out there, and there's a lot of cool gear and things like that, but there's a lot of money wasted too that maybe you don't need to waste and maybe you shouldn't waste. So I have to ask myself, I made this little thing so in that if I kind of start wanting a firearm or wanting an accessory for my firearm, I go through and I ask myself these questions before I go drop that coin down and it sits in the safe and does nothing. So the first thing I ask myself is, what does the price of equipment solve? What does the price solve, or the piece of equipment solve? The price or the piece, whichever. But what does that money solve with that piece of equipment? Does it make your home safer? Does it does it add security? I mean, does it give you a concealed carry? I mean, what does it solve? Does it give you a greater distance in your shot? Does it give you more capability to defeat more targets? Just ask yourself, does it solve anything? And if so, what is that? And is it worth the price? The second thing is, pretty or cool doesn't count. Okay? So a lot of people go, man, buy it because it's just cool. But that really doesn't count when it comes to time and accuracy. So the next thing is how much am I willing to practice with that particular item? So let's say I have an AR or a pistol or whatever, and then I decide to add a light to it. And yes, so what will it do? It does a lot for me. It gives me the ability to see in the dark. It gives me the ability to identify targets in the dark. It also gives me the ability, of course, to shoot in the dark. And so am I willing to practice with that in the dark? So if you're not willing to practice with it, you may not want to add that, because when you put a light on a weapon, of course, you're pointing the gun to the target too, and it might not be a target that you're actually looking at in the middle of the night. It could be, your kid getting up out of bed, or your dog running across the yard or something like that. You might not be wanting to point the gun at that. So think about that. And then, of course, how much you willing to practice with whatever you buy. If you buy a concealed weapons, a new concealed weapon, are you willing to go out and do several hundred draws and shoot with that? Or are you just going to buy it and carry it and not be practiced at all? And so therefore it becomes a danger to you and others as it goes. So what are you willing to do? How much practice are you willing to put into the item that you're purchasing? All right, the next part that I ask myself is, will the device make me faster or more accurate? That's a big one, because if you're buying something and it slows you down, and here's a great example, is to put a red dot or a dotting sight on top of a pistol that you're concealed carrying. Now, I know people that do it, and I know it works for them. I know people that do it and it worked for them some, and it failed at critical times. I know people that don't do it and have no issues, because if you don't have a red dot on top of your pistol, then the battery can't go out. It can't get bumped and knocked off. It can't cause all these other issues. The other thing is, I always like to take people out and go, okay, so you have a pistol with a red dot. Let's draw and shoot this target at 10 yards and see how fast and how accurate you are with the red dot from your concealed. And then take your weapon without the red dot and do it. And then, do it several times, because a lot of people will buy a red dot and they won't get proficient. So when they draw it, they spend all their time searching around trying to find that red dot and get it lined up, then pull the trigger, as opposed to just drawing, line up, and pulling the trigger. So the question is, again, goes back to the thing, whatever accessory you add or whatever you buy, are you willing to train with it? Does it make you faster Does it make you smoother? Does it cut your time down? Does it make you more accurate? If not, then it's a waste of money, and it could also cost you your life in the long run. So the last part I asked myself is, what advantage does this new piece of equipment give me? And back to the red dot thing. So yeah, a red dot can make you transition really fast between targets if you train. So if you're not going to train with it, or not going to train with whatever piece of equipment you're getting, then it's useless. Same way with like buying a scope, a different kind of scope for your rifle. A lot of people go out and buy $1,000, $2,000 scope, and they never train with it. So then they do get in and start using it, they don't understand the parallax, they don't understand the holds. There's a lot of things that go along with buying a certain scope. Is it mil dot? What is it? How's it set up? What is the reticle? What does the reticle mean at distance? Does the reticle change at distance? Just a ton of things that you have to think about when you're buying a new scope or a new piece of equipment. I do a lot of extra pieces of equipment on my rifle. My rifles and pistols have evolved, but I've always gone back, to the basic Glock 19 with no sight, no extra red dot, no anything, because I can do a draw shoot under a second on a 10-yard target with that. And I've tried red dots. I've went and bought some really expensive ones and I've put on there, and I've practiced, and I guess just the way I shoot, I just take a long time finding that red dot. I shoot with both eyes open, and it just takes a long time to get the red dot. Now I do notice that after you get it lined up, it's easier to sight, of course, especially at a distance. But I don't want to lose time and accuracy, no matter what. Those are two most important things that'll keep you alive, is time and accuracy. So back over the list real quick is, what does the piece of equipment solve? And pretty and cool don't count. How much are you willing to practice with it? Will the device make you faster or more accurate? And what advantage does it give you? And when you answer all those questions honestly to yourself, then you'll know if you want to buy a certain piece of equipment to go, whether maybe you're buying a new firearm completely in general, and I know a lot of people go out and buy just a gun just to say they have it, and it could be a good investment. You keep it for years, and they do go up in price, but is it useful to you at that time? Maybe. I don't know. So these are just questions I ask myself. And of course, like I said earlier, these videos are for my kids and great grandkids that maybe won't have the opportunity to know me now, but one day they'll like to look at my videos and just see kind of how I think about things, and get to know their grandpa through a video, if you can believe that. And so I just wanted to share that little bit of information about, should I purchase it? Maybe. Go out and make your family, yourself, your fellow warrior